Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us on the Hangout on Air for Go Global with Google India. We're very happy that you are interested to know more about opportunities in Google within your new location. You've already seen the email with the introductions about Davidson, Kerry, Nicola, and Stephanie who've joined us. So let's start off right away. Davidson, over to you.
Thank you. Next slide, please. So again, thank you for joining us. We wanted to take this opportunity to share a little bit about what to expect in your new location, especially for those of you that are going to be studying in the US or Canada, as well as in Europe. So we wanted to share what to expect there in terms of the recruiting process and the way recruiting works at your new location, the roles and opportunities that are available at Google, what to expect in the recruiting process, and a little bit about the programs happening in those locations. And then we'll have time for a couple of Q&As from the questions that you sent over prior to this event. Next slide. So at Google, we do pride ourselves on our mission, which is to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. This is something that Googlers really believe in. It's something that really has a meaning to our work and the products that we're creating. And I hope you're all excited about some of the great products and the great innovations that we've been making, especially with Maps, Google Glass, and even some of the more innovative products such as self-driving cars. Those are types of interesting internship projects that you could get your hands on in opportunities in North America as well as Europe. So look out for those types of projects once you get into the application process. Next slide. So there are more than a dozen locations in North America, so we won't have too much time to cover all of them. Where the opportunities are going to be, or the most opportunities are actually going to be in Google Bay Area, which includes several buildings, in particular headquarters or the Googleplex, which you see on the right hand picture here. We will have several hundred interns each summer in headquarters, but we also have positions available in San Francisco as well as the San Bruno location. And Mountain View contains all of the major projects and major product areas that we have, again, including search, maps, ads, etc. So there will be hundreds of different types of projects available there. I'm going to turn it over to Carrie to cover the locations in Europe.
Thanks, Davidson. So as mentioned, my name's Kerry. I work in our London office and work on the intern team there. So in Europe, we have a large number of offices into which we hire engineering interns. Our main hubs being Zurich and London, but we also hire into Krakow, Warsaw, Israel, Munich, Paris. You can see there's quite a large variety. In the majority of the offices, well, we have software engineering roles in all offices, and with a variation of roles in the larger hubs, but we'll come on to that in a second. Next slide, please. So the recruiting process. So we understand that this is probably going to be on a different timescale than what you're currently used to. One of the key things to be aware of is recruiting in Europe and North America starts very early in the season. So you should expect to be looking for and preparing to apply for internships as early as September, maybe even August in North America. All of our applications, as soon as they open, will be available on our student job site, which we'll share with you a bit later in the presentation. But you should really have that as your first point of contact to be aware of opportunities available for you. Similarly, in all of your universities, you'll most likely find a career centre. We'll just go back, please. The career centres, you should really make the most of them. We have very strong relationships with many career centres, and they're aware of our application process and how you should be preparing to apply. Similarly, we come to many campuses and run careers fairs where there'll be a large number of companies that come, and you can just come along and have a chat with people there. And in certain universities, we'll do more in-depth events such as technical talks, information sessions. So make the most of your careers fairs and careers services, and find out what opportunities will be running on your campuses. Next slide, please. So I briefly touched on these roles earlier, but the majority of our internships, both in North America and in Europe, will be software engineers. We have software engineers in pretty much every office that we have. The next largest opportunities are site reliability engineering. So in Europe, these are mainly in Zurich, London, and Munich and Dublin. Those are the 4 offices where we offer these opportunities, but they are also available in North America. And then we come on to associate product managers, or APMs. There's a much smaller number of these roles available, but they're definitely sought after. And again, we have user experience for those that maybe have a background that suits more to this position. Next slide, please. Okay, so you've decided that you're eligible and you'd like to go for an internship. So what next? So the main recruitment, both in North America and Europe, takes place between October and February. That's when the bulk of our offers are made. But as previously mentioned, we will probably start interviewing a little bit earlier than that. The key thing to know at Google and for our internships is you actually apply for a role. So you'll apply for a software engineer or a site reliability engineer. But at that stage, you won't be aware of the exact project just yet. So we keep it very open, and then as you go through the process, we tend to narrow it down. Particularly in Europe, internships take place year-round. So if you're a PhD student, we can be very flexible to ensure that that fits in with your studies. The same with master's students. You could even start potentially in January in Europe. North America is a little bit stricter, but they still have some flexibility. The key thing to remember is that we need you to be available for 3 months. The work is full-time and you will be paid. But you have the great opportunity to work in all of our offices globally. A few requirements from our side. So you must be studying. That can be a bachelor's, a master's, or a PhD. It needs to be in computer science or a similar technical field. And you'd need to be able to start and finish your internship before you complete your studies. We'll be looking for you to have experience in system software and algorithms and excellent programming skills in C++, Java, Python, and we also look at other languages if needed. If you're nearing the end of your studies or you already want to start thinking about new grad opportunities, again, you'd apply through our website, and you can apply for these if you're in your final year of education or if you've been out of university less than 12 months. Next slide, please. Okay, so I'm going to hand it over to Nicola, who'll talk you through the interview process.
Thanks, Kerry. Hi, everyone. My name is Nicola. I work here from the Zurich office, and I'll talk to you briefly about the interview process here at Google. So it differs a little bit depending on whether you're interviewing for a full-time or an internship position. For a full-time position, you would start with 1 or 2 phone interviews. And if successful, you would then be invited for a number of on-site interviews, normally between 3 and 4. And then we collect all of the information and all of the feedback from the interviews, and we submit it to a hiring committee, where it's reviewed by a panel of engineers. And they decide whether or not we make you an offer. For an intern position, you only have 2 phone interviews, and then your packet is being reviewed by an engineering review committee and potential hosts. And then you go into the project matching phase, where the project hosts try to determine whether there is a match between your skills and the projects that they have. If there is, then you have 1 more interview, which is the project interview, to determine the suitability for the project. And it's successful, you've been given an offer. Next slide, please. So what are we looking to assess? We're definitely looking to assess your coding, so your language syntax, your core knowledge of core libraries, and performance issues. We also assess your analytical skills, your Googliness, and also topics such as graphs, sorting algorithm, hash tables, and so on. A few tips on how to prepare for an interview. It's good if you have a strong CS fundamentals and you know how to apply them, so you know how to apply data structures and algorithms. You need to be excellent at coding in one of the languages, C++, Java, or Python. And also below on the presentation, you can see a few websites where you can practice your coding skills. So websites such as Top Coder or Google Code Jam. And it's also good as part of preparation for your interview to gain some experience, for example, by taking part in open source communities. Next slide, please. Whilst you in Europe, we also have a few scholarships which you could apply for. One of them is the NA Scholarship, which is open to women, and it offers the successful applicants €7,000 scholarship, and also you get invited to a 2-day retreat here in the Zurich office where you can meet other NA finalists. And we also have a travel grant program which allows students to travel to some of the selected conferences, and we cover the cost of travel and we cover the conference fee. So it's basically all expenses taken care of. And you can apply for them, and you can also review the different scholarships on the google.com/student/scholarships website. Thank you. I'll hand over to questions, I believe, now.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Nicola. Okay, so a lot of you have submitted quite a few questions, and we've selected a few to be answered live here for you. So, okay, moving on to questions. The first question: I'm a future master's student starting this fall. Google, like many other companies, attends career fairs in fall, which happens roughly within 2 months after the start of the semester. What exactly would be the expectations from Google for potential student interns, given the short period of time they have been there? How should such students best utilize the summer of holidays between their bachelor's and start of master's program?
Okay. That's actually a really great question. So if you're not already doing an internship this summer, there are a few things that you can probably do outside of having a formal internship to keep your skills up. I think one of the best ways is actually to have your own personal project, whether that's creating an Android app or creating your own website, running your own database, etc., or creating your own database, and that you can certainly gain a lot of skills there and a lot of practice, and that just adds to your qualifications in your resume. There are the Google Summer of Code that you can also participate in if you would like. But I think a lot of it is just keeping up your skills in really hands-on projects. Another thing you can do is actually, learn about the different opportunities that will be available to you in your new locations. And of course, relax, enjoy your summer, because it's some of you will be going on to study, and it's really a good time to just really balance, enjoy the summer, take a vacation, etc., and then be prepared for another round of school. So enjoy the time that you actually have time off if you're not doing an internship.
Okay, thank you for that, Davidson. The next question: I'll be studying MS course in autonomous agents, robotics from University of, okay, I won't mention the university. What are the opportunities and probability of me being connected with Google in terms of student programs, internships, and considering that there is no Google office? Okay, and yeah, so basically the question is about, if I'm studying robotics, can I be considered for internships and opportunities with Google?
Yeah, so good question. So I think there's a couple of pieces to this question that we can look at. So we do have a number of more specialized projects within the internship. So if you were studying robotics, then there's a likelihood that we'd be able to find you a project that would be in line with your skills and interests. The key things that we will be looking at the interview stage, however, as we said before, is more generalistic skills such as algorithms, data structures, and so on, and programming. So we would need you to have that core knowledge. And then as you go through the process, as I said, we'd have the ability to narrow down and look at more your key skills. The piece on location is also important, I think, because we don't, even though we may not have an office in every location, city, we're very flexible in where we can have people intern. So it's really where your interest lies and where you would like to intern. So if you're in Canada and you'd like to intern in Europe, that is possible. And we would treat your application the same as any other application. Go through the interview process, and then when we found you an offer, we'd work with you to ensure that we could secure a work permit for you. My recommendation is to remain flexible on your location. So the more open you are, the higher chance we have of finding you a role. If you're very specific about location and project, then obviously you narrow your opportunities down. But when we review your application, we're really reviewing you for Google as opposed to just one office or just one region. So that's definitely a possibility.
Okay, thanks, Kerry. Before we move on to the next question, just a reminder that I've sent you all the YouTube channel links, so you can post your questions live right now in the comments section. And if we have time, we can take a couple of questions from the comment section. Okay, the next question is, will a student enrolled in spring semester be considered for internship during the first summer?
Should I take that one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so really the key components for an internship are that you will be returning to your studies afterwards, or that the internship is a mandatory part of your degree. So certain universities require you to complete an internship with a company before you're able to graduate. So here, if you were enrolled in January 2015, you would be considered for an internship during the summer, providing you meet the criteria I've already mentioned. The thing for you to remember here is, whilst your course may not start until January, as long as you're enrolled and you're officially part of that course, you can apply before then. So just keep an eye on the application openings, and as soon as you feel ready, then you should apply and can go through the interview process. You know, we do fill our roles on a first come, first served basis, but we definitely have roles available at the beginning of the year still.
Okay, so we can wait for a minute to see if we have live questions from any of the students.
So perhaps maybe we can talk a little bit about you know, the internship program and what to expect during their time at Google. Kerry or Nicola, do you want to talk a little bit about that, and you know, from the you know, onboarding to maybe even the development programs or fun events that we have during the summer?
Yeah, sure. So the internships in Europe are varying lengths. So some people will be with us for just 3 months, some will be with us for a little bit longer. You generally will go through an induction on your first day, meet your teams, get an understanding of what's going to be expected you over the course of the summer, and then you're thrown right in it. So right from kind of the beginning, we expect you to be involved in a project and to be working as all the rest of your team are. Ramp up is pretty quick and quite steep, but I think most of our interns really enjoy that. They love having that hands-on experience right from the beginning. Throughout your internship, you'll have access to various technical talks, social activities that are either organised by your team or organised by the intern recruitment team. If you're with us in the summer in Europe, the culmination of all our efforts is our intern summit, which is a 2-day event in Zurich where we bring all our interns together for 2 days of talks, hands-on sessions, and hopefully a lot of fun. Throughout your internship, we're really here to support you as the intern recruitment team. So we'll be meeting with you at various points, but definitely halfway through, to ensure you're on track, that you're happy, your project's going well, and to get an understanding of what you want to do next. Be that, you know, you've still got 2 years left to study, so you'd like to come back next year. So we monitor that and ensure that that process is as smooth as possible. Alternatively, if you're reaching graduation, then we'll ensure that your application is passed on to a full-time recruiter and they can take you through that process as smoothly as possible. Generally, if you've interned with us, the process for conversion is slightly different. So in Europe at least, you would have feedback from your internship and a smaller number of interviews. So we really try to kind of hold your hand through that piece and make it as seamless as possible. Yeah, I don't know if anyone has anything else to add?
No, that was great, Kerry. Thanks so much. We do have a couple of live questions, so I'll read them out. First one, are there any research scholarships for masters and PhD students?
Can I take that one?
Yeah, Nicola, probably best for you to answer that.
So we do have the Anita Borg Scholarship, which is open to females of all levels. The only requirement is that you are a student in the year after you apply, so that you can actually use your scholarship during your studies. And we also have the PhD fellowship program, although you would have to be studying, you'd have to complete your whole PhD at your university in a year, which I guess might be the case for some of you. So I think those two scholarships are aimed specifically at PhD and all students.
Okay, perfect. So we have two questions around the location of their university. So the question is, does the location of the college matter? How can one benefit from a Google office located in the same city as his or her university?
I can take that one. So it actually doesn't matter very much because we do offer relocation to the the location that you're going to be interning in. So there's actually interns or students that go across the country to intern, for instance, to New York or to Seattle and going coast to coast. Even students from the U.S. interning in Europe for the summer, etc. I think the only advantage that you would have potentially in studying in the same city as the Google location is if you are doing a longer-term internship and you do want to continue studying. But that's usually a case later on, and it's a case-by-case basis, and not necessarily the norm or the current practice that we have. But because typically students do do the internship full time. And not studying during that time because it's actually pretty challenging to do. So we do recommend to be either studying or doing an internship.
Okay, thanks so much, Davidson. We'll take one last question, and you can probably make this brief. So the last question is, how does a software engineering interview process differ from a product manager interview process? So we can probably keep it quite at a high level and need not get into the specifics.
Yeah, so the software engineering process is just 2 phone interviews. The APM process is a bit more in-depth, so you'd have a larger number of interviews. And then there is also an essay question that needs to be submitted. Obviously, the content of the interviews will be different as well. So whilst they'll be looking for your technical ability, so you still need to have that technical background, they'll also be judging, not judging, but looking for a variety of other components that wouldn't be there in the software engineering interview. I think that kind of sums it up, Dave, so I don't know if you have anything to add.
Yeah, I guess the only thing is, obviously, if you look at the requirements of the product management role and the type of work that they'll be doing, it is still a technical role, and you may get asked technical questions. But some of the things that they may touch upon is your business acumen, product design knowledge. They may be looking at assessing your communication skills, your leadership skills, etc. All skills that are needed for the product management role. So just be aware of that, and that's a good practice for any role that you're applying for, is really taking a look at the requirements, because you may be able to anticipate the types of questions or the type of skill set they'll be assessing you on.
Okay, thank you so much. So that wraps it up. Thank you so much, Davidson, Kerry, Nicola, and Stephanie for joining us. Thanks everyone for watching the Go Global with Google Hangout on Air for North America and EMEA. So we'll soon be sending you an email about two things. One is to sort of get your feedback on how you like the Hangout. Two, some of you have mentioned that you've still not decided on the universities that you'll be going to. So we will need that information so that we can update our database accordingly. Thank you so much for joining us, and hope this Hangout was useful for you. We'll share some useful information with you post the Hangout. And please remember to follow the Google Students Plus page, which has unbelievably important information for you to know in the future. Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.